Taiho woke up before the alarm sounded. His small room had gray walls and a narrow bed. Nothing more. The lights came on automatically at exactly 5 in the morning. Every morning was the same. He got dressed in his work uniform, brown pants and a brown shirt. On the back was a number, not a name, just a number. That was how the Valtheris identified the humans who worked for them. Taiho was number 7432. He had worn this number for 11 years. The Valtheris were tall and elegant. Their skin changed colors when they felt different emotions. Blue for calm, red for anger, purple for joy. They owned hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. They were powerful. Humans were not. Taiho walked through the long corridors of the lower deck. Other humans moved around him. They all looked tired. They all wore numbers on their backs. Some nodded at him. Most just kept walking. Talking too much could get you in trouble. He arrived at his workstation in the maintenance section. His job was to check the life support systems: air, water, temperature. These systems kept everyone alive on the ship. The Valtheris trusted humans to do this work because humans were good with machines, but they never thanked anyone. Why would they thank their property? The ship was called the Celestial Dominion. It was 15 kilometers long, made of metal and crystal. It was beautiful and terrifying. Queen Valara commanded this ship. She was the ruler of the entire Valtheris Empire. Taiho had never seen her in person. Why would a queen ever visit the lower decks? Taiho was checking a water filter when the first explosion hit. The whole ship shook. Taiho fell against the wall. Alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. His heart pounded in his chest. What was happening? A voice came through the speakers. It was calm but urgent. Attack all personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Humans ran in every direction. Some headed for the escape pods. Others ran to their emergency posts. Taiho stood frozen for a moment. Then training took over. He needed to get to his emergency station. He needed to keep the life support running. Another explosion. Bigger this time. The floor tilted. Taiho grabbed a rail to keep from falling. Through a window he could see space. Ships were fighting out there. Bright flashes of weapons fire. Explosions blooming like deadly flowers. The Valtheris fleet was under attack. But who would attack Queen Valara? Who would dare? Taiho reached his emergency station. Other humans were already there. They worked quickly and quietly, checking systems, rerouting power, making sure people could still breathe. The ship shook again and again. Each explosion felt closer. A man named Kyung worked next to him. His hands were shaking. "We are going to die here," Kyung whispered. "We are going to die and nobody will remember us." Taiho put a hand on his shoulder. "Keep working. That is all we can do." Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. Time felt strange during a battle. The explosions kept coming. Part of the ship lost pressure. Taiho could hear it on his screen. Section 12 was gone. Section 15 was on fire. Section 20 had lost life support completely. Then something changed. A new alarm. This one was different. High and urgent. Taiho looked at his screen. His blood went cold. The bridge. The command center where Queen Valara controlled the ship. It was sealed, damaged. And there was a distress beacon. Someone was trapped there. Someone important. Kyung saw it too. "That is not our problem. We need to evacuate." "The ship is dying." He was right. The Celestial Dominion was breaking apart. Humans were supposed to go to the escape pods. That was the rule. Save yourselves. Let the Valtheris take care of their own. But Taiho thought about the distress beacon. Someone was alone, trapped, waiting for help that might never come. He thought about his wife, Hana. She had died 3 years ago in a mining accident, crushed by falling rocks. Nobody had tried to save her. Nobody had cared. She was just a number 2. Taiho looked at the screen again. The bridge was 15 kilometers away. The ship was falling apart. There was almost no chance he could get there. Even less chance he could help. It was stupid to try, but Hana had always said that being human meant caring, even when it was hard. Even when it hurt. Even when it made no sense. "I am going to the bridge," Taiho said quietly. Kyung stared at him. "You are crazy. You will die, maybe. But someone is alive up there. Someone needs help." Kyung shook his head. Then he grabbed Taiho's arm. "Good luck, brother." Taiho left his station. He knew the maintenance tunnels better than anyone. He had worked on this ship for years. He knew every passage, every shortcut, every hidden route. If anyone could reach the bridge, it was him. He climbed into the tunnels. They were dark and narrow, made for repairs, not for travel. Hot pipes ran along the walls. Steam hissed from broken seals. Tejo crawled forward. His hands and knees scraped against metal. The ship groaned around him. Metal screaming. Crystal shattering. The celestial dominion was dying, and Tejo was crawling through its guts trying to save someone he had never met. He passed through section after section. Some were empty. Some were on fire. In one section, he found bodies. Valtheris guards dead. Their beautiful skin was gray now. No colors, no life. He kept moving. After what felt like hours, he reached the sealed door to the bridge. It was massive, made of reinforced metal, and it was bent. Damaged by the explosion, there was a small gap, just big enough for a human. Tejo squeezed through. On the other side, the bridge was a disaster. Smoke filled the air. Broken glass covered the floor. Screens flickered and died. Bodies lay everywhere. The Queen's guards, all dead. And then he saw her. Queen Valara lay near the command chair. Her skin was flickering between colors, white for pain, gray for fear. She was conscious, barely. A piece of metal had fallen across her legs. She could not move. She turned her head. Saw him. Her eyes went wide. You are human. Yes, Tejo said. He knelt beside her. I came to help. The Queen stared at him. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she spoke. Her voice was weak. Why? Tejo did not know how to answer that, so he just said the truth. Because you needed help. He lifted the metal off her legs. She cried out in pain. Her legs were crushed, broken. She would not be able to walk. Maybe never again. We need to move, Tejo said. This section will fail soon. Can you stay conscious? The Queen nodded. Do what you must. Tejo looked around. He needed something to carry her on. The command chair was too big. The debris was too sharp. Then he saw it. Part of the hull plating had fallen during the battle. It was flat, smooth, strong. He dragged the piece of hull over to the Queen. He found emergency straps in a storage locker. Working quickly, he secured her to the metal plate. She watched him work. Her skin was still flickering with pain. This will hurt, he warned her. Everything hurts, she replied. Tejo grabbed the front of the makeshift sled. He pulled. The Queen was heavy. The metal scraped against the floor, but it moved. He could do this. Another explosion rocked the ship. Closer this time. Much closer. Tejo looked back at the Queen. Her eyes met his. In them, he saw something he never expected to see. Trust. He began to drag her toward the broken door. Toward the tunnels. Toward whatever chance of survival they might find. Behind them, the bridge began to collapse. Ahead of them was 15 kilometers of dying ship, and Tejo pulled the Queen forward, one step at a time, into the darkness. The metal scraped against the floor. Every pull sent sparks flying. Tejo's shoulders burned with pain. His hands were bleeding, but he kept moving. One step, then another, then another. Queen Valara lay strapped to the hull plating. Her face was tight with pain. Her skin kept changing colors, white, gray, sometimes a flash of red. She did not complain. She did not speak. She just held on. The corridor ahead was dark. Emergency lights flickered. Some were broken. Some were dying. Tejo could barely see 10 meters ahead. He had to trust his memory. He had walked these paths for years. He knew the way. They passed through a section filled with smoke. Tejo pulled his shirt over his mouth. The Queen coughed. Her breathing was rough. Tejo moved faster. They could not stay here long. When they cleared the smoke, the Queen spoke. Her voice was weak. How far? 14 kilometers, Tejo answered. Maybe more. She closed her eyes. We will never make it. We will, Tejo said. We must. They entered a maintenance tunnel. It was narrow and hot. Pipes lined the walls. Some were broken. Steam sprayed from the cracks. Tejo had to be careful. If the steam hit them, it would burn their skin. The Queen watched him navigate through the tunnel. He moved with confidence. He knew exactly where to step, where to avoid. This was his world. These hidden places, these forgotten spaces. You know this ship well, the Queen said. I have worked here for 11 years, Tejo replied. I know every tunnel, every room, Every system. What is your name? Tejo stopped. He turned to look at her. In all his years of service, no Valtheris had ever asked his name. They only used his number, 7432. That was all he was to them. My name is Tejo, he said quietly. The Queen nodded slowly. Thank you, Tejo. He turned back and kept pulling, but something had changed. She had used his name, not his number. His name. They reached a section where the floor had collapsed. There was a gap, 5 meters wide. Below was nothing but darkness. Tejo could hear metal groaning far below. This part of the ship was falling apart. There was a narrow beam across the gap. It was maybe 30 centimeters wide. Tejo looked at it, looked at the sled, looked at the Queen. I have to carry you, he said. The Queen's eyes went wide. You cannot. I am too heavy. You will fall. There is no other way. Tejo unstrapped her from the sled. Very carefully he lifted her. She was tall, heavier than a human woman would be. His arms shook. But he held on. The Queen wrapped her arms around his neck. Her face was close to his. He could feel her breathing, see the fear in her eyes. She was a queen, a ruler of worlds. But right now she was just a person, afraid, hurt, trusting him with her life. Do not look down, Tejo said. He stepped onto the beam. His foot found solid metal. He moved forward, slow, careful. The beam was slippery with some kind of fluid. Oil, maybe, or coolant. He did not think about it. He just focused on the next step. Halfway across, his foot slipped. He swayed. The Queen gasped. Her arms tightened around him. For a terrible moment, Tejo thought they would fall, but he caught his balance, steadied himself, kept moving. When they reached the other side, Tejo set the Queen down gently. He went back for the sled. It was lighter without her. He dragged it across the beam quickly. Then he secured her to it again. They kept moving. Hours passed. Or maybe it was minutes. Time felt strange. The ship kept shaking. Explosions echoed through the corridors, sometimes far away, sometimes very close. In one section, they had to put on emergency suits. The air was gone, vented into space. Tejo found 2 suits in a storage locker. He helped the Queen into hers, then put on his own. They crossed through the airless section in silence. Tejo could only hear his own breathing inside the helmet, and the Queen's breathing on the radio. In and out, in and out. She was still alive, still fighting. On the other side, they found air again. They took off the suits. The Queen was shaking. Not from cold, from exhaustion, from pain. Her legs were swollen, dark purple. She needed medical help. Soon. Tejo, the Queen said, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your life. Why do you want to know? Tejo asked. Because I never asked before, and I should have. Tejo pulled the sled through another corridor. He thought about what to say. There is not much to tell. I was born on a colony world. My parents worked in the mines. I learned to fix machines. When I was 18, they assigned me to the ship. Were you married? Yes, her name was Hana was. Tejo stopped. He stared at the floor. She died 3 years ago. There was an accident at the mine where she worked. The roof collapsed. 23 people died. She was one of them. The Queen was quiet for a long moment. I am sorry, she said finally. Tejo started moving again. It was not your fault, but it was my empire, my responsibility. And I never knew. I never asked. I never cared. They did not speak for a while after that. They just moved forward. Through the dying ship. Through the darkness. 2 people who should never have met. 2 people who came from different worlds. But right now they needed each other to survive. They reached a section where fire blocked the path. Flames filled the corridor, hot and bright. Tejo looked at his hands. They were burned and bleeding. He looked at the Queen. She was barely conscious now. Her skin was almost completely gray. He found a water pipe, broke it open. Water sprayed everywhere. He soaked his clothes, soaked the Queen's clothes, soaked the straps holding her to the sled. Hold your breath, he told her. She nodded. Ready? Tejo ran.
He pulled the sled through the flames.
The heat was incredible. It felt like his skin was burning off. He could not breathe, could not see, but he kept running, kept pulling. Then they were through, past the fire. Tejo collapsed. His lungs screamed for air. He gulped it down, coughed. His arms felt like they were made of lead. The Queen was coughing too, but she was alive. Her eyes found his. "You saved me again," she whispered. "Not yet," Taeho said. "We still have kilometers to go." He forced himself to stand, forced his hands to grip the sled. His body wanted to stop, wanted to rest. But rest meant death, so he pulled and pulled and pulled. "Why are you doing this?" the Queen asked. "You could have saved yourself. You could have left me. Why risk your life for mine?" Taeho thought about Hana, about what she would have said, about what it meant to be human. "Because leaving you would make me less human," he said. "And I have already lost too much. I will not lose that too." 8 hours. That was how long it took. 8 hours of dragging the Queen through the broken ship. 8 hours of pain and fear and determination. But finally they reached the evacuation hangar. Most of the escape pods were gone. The hangar was dark and cold. But there, in the far corner, Taeho saw one pod still attached to the wall. One chance. He pulled the sled across the hangar floor. His legs were shaking. He could barely stand. But he reached the pod. He opened the door. Inside was cramped. Just big enough for 2 people. Taeho unstrapped the Queen. He lifted her one more time, carried her into the pod, set her down on the seat, strapped her in. She watched him with eyes full of something he could not name. Gratitude, maybe. Or respect. Or both. He climbed in beside her, sealed the door, hit the launch button. For a moment, nothing happened. Taeho's heart sank. Was the pod broken? Then they launched. The pod shot away from the celestial dominion. Through the small window, Taeho could see the ship. It was breaking apart, pieces floating off into space. The beautiful crystal spires were shattered. The hull was torn open. The ship that had been his home for 11 years was dying. They watched in silence as the celestial dominion tore itself in half. A massive explosion bloomed from the center, bright, beautiful, terrible. Then the pieces scattered, drifting into the darkness, gone. The Queen closed her eyes. "So many dead," she whispered. Taeho checked the pod's systems. They had air for 5 days, water for 3, food for maybe 2. The distress beacon was active. Someone would find them. Eventually. He looked at his hands. They were covered in burns and cuts. His whole body hurt. But he was alive. They were both alive. The Queen opened her eyes. She looked at him. Really looked at him. Not as a servant. Not as a number. As a person. "What will you do?" she asked. "When they rescue us." "What will you do?" Taeho thought about it. "I suppose I will be assigned to another ship. Given another number. Start again. Is that what you want? It does not matter what I want. I am human. We do not get to choose." The Queen was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Tell me what you would want. If you could choose. Tell me." Taeho leaned back against the seat. He stared at the ceiling of the pod. "I would want a home. A place that is mine. Not assigned. Not borrowed. Mine. I would want to choose my own work. To be paid for it. To save that money. To use it how I wish. What else? I would want to walk down a street and not have people look at the number on my back. I would want them to see me. Taeho. A person with a name. I would want to fall in love again. Maybe have children. Raise them in freedom. Teach them that they matter." His voice cracked. "Simple things. Human things. Things that everyone should have. But humans do not get them. We are property. We will always be property." The Queen reached out. Her hand touched his arm. Not a command. Not an order. Just a touch, human, no, not human, but the same. The same need for connection. The same understanding of pain. "I was wrong," she said quietly. "We were all wrong. About your people, about what you deserve." Days passed. 3 days floating in the dark. They shared the small amount of food. Talked about their lives. The Queen told Taeho about growing up in the palace. About learning to rule. About the weight of power. Taeho told her about the colony world. About working in the mines with his parents. About meeting Hana. About losing her. The Queen listened. Really listened. She asked questions. She cared about the answers. On the 3rd day, a ship found them. A Valtheris rescue vessel. They were pulled aboard. Medical staff rushed to help the Queen. Soldiers stared at Taeho. Their faces showed confusion. Shock. Why was a human with the Queen? The Queen was taken to the medical bay. Taeho was led to a holding room. He sat alone, waiting. He expected to be questioned. Maybe punished. He had left his emergency station. Broken protocol. Touched the Queen. All of these things were against the rules. Hours passed. Then a guard came. "Follow me," the guard said. Taeho followed. They walked through the ship. To the medical bay. The guard opened a door. Queen Valara was inside. She was lying in a medical bed. Machines were working on her legs. Her skin was a steady blue. "Calm. Leave us," the Queen said to the guard. The guard hesitated. "My Queen, protocol states that," I said. "Leave us." Her voice was sharp, strong. The voice of a ruler. The guard left. Closed the door. Taeho and the Queen were alone. "Come here," she said. Taeho walked to her bedside. He did not know what to expect. Punishment, reward, nothing at all. The Queen looked at him. Her eyes were clear, determined. "You saved my life, Taeho. You risked everything. Asked for nothing. You showed me what it means to be truly noble, not by birth, but by choice." "I only did what anyone should do," Taeho said. "No, you did what few would do, and I owe you a debt I can never fully repay. But I will try." She reached for a tablet beside her bed. Pressed some buttons, then looked back at him. "As of this moment, you are free. No longer a servant, no longer property. You are a citizen of the Valtheris Empire, with all the rights that brings. You can live where you choose, work where you choose, own property, vote, everything." Taeho stared at her. He could not speak, could not move. Free? After all these years? After generations of servitude? It seemed impossible. "I know it is not enough," the Queen continued. "One free man does not fix a broken system, but it is a start, and I promise you, Taeho, I will do more. I will fight for your people, for all humans. This I swear." Tears ran down Taeho's face. He did not try to stop them. "Thank you," he whispered. The news spread fast. Within hours, everyone knew. A human had been granted freedom, full citizenship, the first in history. Some Valtheris were angry. Some were shocked. Many did not care. But humans across the Empire heard the news. In mines and factories and ships. They whispered about it, wondered about it. One human was free. If one could be free, maybe others could too. Maybe change was possible. On a colony world far away, a young man named Minho was working at a communication station. He heard the news. He looked at the screen. Read the name, Taeho, his brother. His older brother was free. Minho sat down. He thought about what this meant. Thought about the possibilities. Thought about the future. And for the first time in his life, he felt something he had never felt before. Hope. Freedom was not what Taeho expected. He thought it would feel light. Easy. Instead, it felt heavy and complicated. Queen Valara gave him an apartment in the capital city. It had 3 rooms. Windows that looked out over the towers. His own bed. His own kitchen. Everything was his. But Taeho felt lost in it. He had lived in small rooms his whole life. This space felt too big, too empty. The Valtheris people stared at him on the streets, some with curiosity, some with anger, some with disgust. He was the human who had been given what he did not deserve, the servant who thought he was equal. But humans looked at him differently too. Some saw hope. Others saw betrayal. How could he accept freedom while millions of humans were still in chains? How could he live in comfort while his people suffered? Taeho did not know how to answer them. He did not ask for this. But he had it. And he did not know what to do with it. 2 weeks after his freedom was granted, someone tried to kill him. A bomb exploded near a market where he was shopping. 3 people died. Taeho survived only because he had stopped to look at some fruit. 5 seconds earlier and he would have been dead. After that, Queen Valara assigned him guards. 2 Valtheris soldiers who followed him everywhere. They did not speak to him, did not look at him, but they were always there, watching, protecting. The Queen also asked him to attend council meetings. She wanted his voice, his perspective. She was trying to push new laws through the government, laws that would improve conditions for humans. Maybe even grant more freedoms. Taeho sat in those meetings. He listened to the nobles debate. They talked about humans like they were discussing cattle or machines. They used numbers and statistics. They never used names, never saw people. One noble said that humans were too simple to want freedom. that they were happier when given clear tasks and purpose. Another said that freeing humans would destroy the economy, that the Empire needed workers. Taiho wanted to scream, wanted to flip the table, wanted to make them see, but he sat silent. The Queen had asked him to be patient, to let her work through the system. Change took time, she said, but how much time? How many more humans would die while they debated? One night, Taiho received a message on his personal screen. It was encrypted, anonymous. It said, "Meet me at the old dock. Pier 7, midnight, come alone." A friend Taiho knew he should tell his guards, should tell the Queen. This could be another assassination attempt. But something made him go. He slipped out of his apartment, avoided his guards, made his way to the docks. The docks were dark and quiet. Old ships creaked against their moorings. Water lapped at the concrete. Taiho walked to Pier 7, waited. A figure emerged from the shadows, human, young, male. He looked familiar. Then Taiho realized. Minho, his brother. Minho. Taiho breathed. "How did you get here?" They embraced. 5 years. That was how long it had been since they saw each other. Minho had grown. He was taller now, stronger. His eyes were harder. "I came to see you," Minho said. "And to give you a message from who?" "From us, the resistance." Taiho went cold. He had heard rumors. Whispers of human groups organizing, planning. But he did not know his brother was part of it. "Minho, that is dangerous. If they catch you, we are already in danger. Every day, working for them. Living under their rules. What is more dangerous than that?" Taiho shook his head. "Violence will not work. They have the weapons, the ships, the military. We cannot win that way. Maybe, but we have numbers, and we have something they do not. We know how everything works. We run their mines, their factories, their ships. If we stop working, everything stops. They will kill you. Kill everyone who resists." Minho smiled. It was a sad smile. Maybe. But at least we will die trying to be free, not slowly dying in chains. "What do you want from me?" Taiho asked. "Information. You are close to the Queen. You attend council meetings. You hear their plans. We need to know what they are planning. We need someone on the inside. You want me to spy. I want you to help your people." Taiho turned away, looked out at the dark water. The Queen trusted him. She was trying to help. She had freed him, given him a voice, and now his brother wanted him to betray her. "She freed you," Minho said quietly. "One man out of billions. Do you think that is enough? Do you think she will really change things? Or are you just her pet? Her proof that she is kind?" The words hurt, but they also made Taiho think. Was he really making a difference? Or was he just making himself feel better? "I need time," Taiho said, "to think about this." Minho handed him a small device. "A communicator. Use this when you decide. It is encrypted, safe." Then Minho hugged him again. "I am proud of you, brother. What you did on that ship, saving her. That took courage. Now I'm asking you to be brave again." But in a different way, Minho disappeared into the shadows. Taiho stood alone on the dock. The communicator felt heavy in his pocket. Heavy with choice. Heavy with consequences. The next day, Taiho attended another council meeting. The Queen was arguing for a new law, one that would limit working hours for humans. Give them better food, better housing. It was not much, but it was something. The nobles fought her on every point. Too expensive, too complicated, too dangerous, setting a precedent. If humans got better treatment, they might want more. And more and more. The Queen looked tired. Her skin was pale blue. She was still recovering from her injuries. The doctors said she would walk again, but slowly, with pain. After the meeting, she called Taiho to her private office. He came, sat across from her desk, waited. "You look troubled," she said. "I am," Taiho admitted. "Tell me." Taiho hesitated. Then he spoke. "Your nobles. They will never let humans be free. They will fight you on everything. Maybe for years, decades. How long should my people wait?" The Queen was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that shocked him. "I am dying, Taiho." "What?" "My injury. It damaged more than my legs. Internal damage. The doctors can treat it. Extend my life, but not save it. I have maybe a year. 2 if I am lucky." Taiho felt like the floor had dropped away. "I am sorry. I did not know. Nobody knows. Only my doctors. And now you? I am telling you because you need to understand. I do not have time to be patient. I do not have time to play politics. I need to make change now. Real change. Before I'm gone, she leaned forward. Help me, Taiho, not as a servant, not as a citizen, as a friend. Help me figure out how to free your people before it is too late. Taiho looked at her, saw the determination in her eyes, the fear, the hope, and he made his choice. Not betrayal, not loyalty to the Empire, something else, something new. He would help her, but he would also talk to the resistance. Maybe there was a third path, a way that did not require choosing sides, a way that saved everyone. Taiho used the encrypted communicator. 2 days later, he met a woman named Jisoo. She was the leader of the human resistance. They met in an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. Jisoo was 40 years old. Short hair, sharp eyes. She looked at Taiho like she was measuring him, deciding if he could be trusted. Minho says you want to help, she said. I want to find a better way, Taiho replied. Violence will get us all killed. But waiting for the government to change will take too long. There must be another path. Jisoo crossed her arms. What path is that? Negotiation. Real negotiation. The Queen wants to help. She is dying. She wants to leave a legacy of change. But she is fighting her own government. If we can show her a plan, something practical, something that does not destroy the economy or cause chaos, she might be able to push it through, and if she cannot, then we try something else. But we should try this first. Before blood is spilled, Jisoo studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. All right, I will listen. But if this does not work, we do things my way. Over the next weeks, Taiho worked with both sides. He met with Jisoo and the resistance leaders. They created a plan, a gradual emancipation program. It would free humans over 20 years. Start with education, then skilled labor rights, then property ownership. Finally, full citizenship. It was not perfect. 20 years was a long time, but it was realistic. It gave the economy time to adjust. Gave both species time to learn to live together. Taiho brought the plan to Queen Valara. She read it carefully, asked questions, made notes. Then she looked at him. This could work. It will be hard. Many will fight it. But it could work. She began presenting the plan to the council. Some nobles listened. Most refused. They said it was too fast, too dangerous, too expensive. The debates went on for weeks. Then everything changed. News came from the outer colonies. 3 human settlements had been attacked. Thousands were dead. The attacks were brutal. Buildings burned. Families killed. The report said it was human uprisings, rebellions that had to be put down. But Taiho knew the resistance. They were not ready for violence, not yet. Something was wrong. He contacted Jisoo. Did your people do this? No, we have people on those worlds. They say it was not humans who attacked first. It was Valthera's military. They came in shooting, killed everyone, then blamed it on us. Why would they do that? To stop the reform, to turn people against us, to make sure nothing changes. Taiho felt sick. He went to the Queen, told her what Jisoo said. The Queen's face went hard. She called her military advisors, demanded answers. They said the attacks were justified. Humans had rebelled. Force was necessary, but the Queen did not believe them. She ordered an investigation, a real one. She sent people she trusted. What they found was horrifying. The attacks were ordered by a Valthera's commander named Draxus, the same commander who had attacked the Celestial Dominion. He was leading a faction that wanted to overthrow the Queen. They believed the Empire was weak. That reform was betrayal. They wanted to restore the old ways, make the Empire strong again, and they were willing to kill thousands to do it. The evidence was clear. Video recordings, witness testimony, orders signed by Draxus himself. The Queen called an emergency council meeting. She presented the evidence, demanded that Draxus be arrested, but the council was divided. Some believed her. Others said the evidence was fake, that the Queen was protecting her pet human, that she had gone soft. Taiho sat in that meeting, listened to them argue, watched as they put politics above truth, put power above justice. He realized that the system was more broken than he thought. After the meeting, the Queen called Taiho to her office. She looked exhausted. Her skin was gray. I do not have much time, she said. My health is getting worse, and now I am fighting a civil war. What will you do? I am going to release the evidence publicly. Let everyone see what Draxus did. It will cause chaos. The military will fracture. Some will support me. Some will support him. But at least the truth will be known. That is dangerous. Everything is dangerous now. The question is whether we have the courage to do what is right anyway. Tejo thought about that. Thought about courage. About choices. He looked at the Queen. I will stand with you. Whatever happens, she smiled. It was tired but genuine. Thank you, my friend. The Queen released the evidence the next day. Every screen in the Empire showed the truth. The attacks, the orders, the lies. People watched in horror, in shock, in anger. Within hours, the Empire began to fracture. Military units declared loyalty to the Queen. Others declared loyalty to Draxus. Some stayed neutral, tried to protect their own territories. On the human colonies, people saw their chance. Jisoo and the Resistance launched coordinated uprisings. Not violence, not yet, just refusal. They stopped working, stopped following orders, demanded freedom, demanded justice, demanded answers. Some Valtheris authorities tried to suppress the uprisings peacefully. Others used violence. The situation was spiraling, getting worse every day. Tejo contacted Minho, told him to be careful, told him that things were about to get much worse before they got better. Minho laughed. It was a bitter sound. Brother, things have always been bad for us. At least now we are fighting back. Then came the news that changed everything. Draxus was moving his fleet toward the capital. He was going to attack. Gonna try to take the palace. Take control of the government the Queen called her loyal forces. Prepared defenses. But she was outnumbered. Draxus had convinced many military units to join him. He promised them strength, glory, a return to the old ways. Tejo stood with the Queen in the war room. Watched the screen showing Draxus's fleet approaching. So many ships, so much firepower. We cannot win this, one of her generals said. We should evacuate. Save what we can. The Queen shook her head. If I run, he wins. The reforms die. Everything we worked for dies. I will not run, then we will die, the general said flatly. Maybe, or maybe help will come. From where? The Queen looked at Tejo. From people who believe in justice. From people who are tired of being victims. From people who want change. Tejo understood. He contacted Jisoo, told her what was happening. Told her that if Draxus won, there would be no reform. No freedom. Only brutal suppression. Maybe genocide. Jisoo was quiet for a long time. Then she said, we have ships. Stolen ships. Hidden ships. Ships we took from them over the years. Not many, not strong, but maybe enough. Will you help? Another pause. Then yes, not for the Queen, not for the Empire, but for the chance at freedom. For the hope that if we help her now, she will help us later. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. We might all die. Draxus's fleet arrived 3 days later. The battle for the capital began, and somewhere out in space, hidden in the dark, a small fleet of human resistance ships began their approach, coming to fight, coming to save, coming to change history. The sky above the capital burned with weapons fire. Draxus's ships hammered the planetary defenses. Shields flickered and failed. Buildings shook. People ran through the streets, some looking for shelter, some looking for a way to escape. Tejo stood in the palace war room. Screens showed the battle. The Queen's forces were losing. Slowly but steadily, Draxus had more ships, better weapons, more soldiers. It was only a matter of time. The Queen sat in her command chair. She could walk now, with pain, with difficulty, but she could stand when needed. And now she stood, her skin flickering between blue and red, calm in anger, determination and fear. Generals gave her reports, bad news after bad news. The eastern shield was down. The northern defenses were failing. Ground troops were landing near the palace. We need to evacuate you, one general said. Now, while we still can. The Queen shook her head. I told you. I will not run, then you will die here perhaps, but I will die standing for what is right. Can you say the same? The general had no answer to that. Explosions rocked the palace. Closer now. Draxus's troops were pushing through. The palace guards were fighting, dying, buying time that was running out. Tejo checked his weapon. The Queen had given him a plasma rifle. He had never fired one before. But he would learn fast. He would not let her die alone. A message came through the communication system. It was encrypted. Jisu's voice. "We are here. 15 minutes out." "Hold on," Tejo looked at the Queen. "Help is coming." The Resistance, the generals looked shocked. "Humans coming to help?" "Yes," the Queen said firmly. "Because I asked them to. Because they have as much to lose as we do. Because they are people who deserve freedom. And today we will fight together. 15 minutes. That was all they needed. But 15 minutes in battle felt like hours. Felt like forever. Draxus's troops breached the palace walls. Fighting moved into the corridors. The Queen's guards held them back. But they were outnumbered. Outgunned. Falling back toward the throne room. The Queen moved to the throne room. Tejo and a dozen guards went with her. They sealed the doors. Set up defenses, waited. The doors exploded inward. Draxus's soldiers poured in. Weapons firing. The guards fired back. Plasma bolts filled the air. Bright. Deadly. Beautiful and horrible. Tejo fired his rifle. The recoil surprised him. But he held on. Fired again. A soldier fell. Then another. He was not a warrior, but he was fighting anyway. Fighting for the Queen. Fighting for the future. The guards fell one by one. 5 left, then 3. Then just Tejo and one other. The Queen stood behind them. She had a weapon too. She fired with steady hands. The last guard fell. Now it was just Tejo and the Queen, surrounded by enemies. The soldiers advanced slowly, cautiously. They wanted the Queen alive. Wanted to capture her. Make her surrender publicly. Tejo stood in front of the Queen. His rifle was almost empty. His arms shook. But he did not move. "Did not run, Tejo," the Queen said quietly. "You should go, run, save yourself. No, not this time. You did not leave me on that ship. I will not leave you now." The soldiers moved closer. Closer. Tejo raised his rifle, ready to fire the last few shots. Ready to die. Then the ceiling exploded. Ships roared overhead. Small ships. Old ships. Human ships. They fired down into the palace grounds, into Draxus's troops. Explosions tore through the enemy forces. The soldiers in the throne room turned, confused, scared. In that moment, Tejo fired. The Queen fired. The soldiers fell. More explosions. Louder. Closer. Then the wall of the throne room blew inward. Through the smoke and dust came people. Humans, armed, dangerous. Leading them was Minho. Tejo stared. His brother here fighting, Minho grinned. "Thought you could use some help." More resistance fighters poured in. They secured the throne room, set up new defenses. Jisu came through last. She looked at the Queen, looked at Tejo, nodded. "We brought what ships we have," Jisu said. "And every fighter who could hold a weapon. We are engaging Draxus's fleet in orbit. Buying you time." "Thank you," the Queen said. Her voice was strong, grateful. "I will not forget this. Just make sure our people get their freedom," Jisu replied. "That is all the thanks we need." The battle raged for hours. In space, on the ground, in the palace halls. But slowly the tide turned. Draxus's forces were caught between the Queen's loyal troops and the human resistance. They fought hard, but they were losing. Draxus himself tried to escape. His command ship broke orbit. Tried to flee. But Minho and a team of resistance fighters had boarded a small attack ship. They chased him down. The fight on Draxus's ship was brutal, hand-to-hand in tight corridors. Minho took a hit. Plasma burned his shoulder. But he kept fighting, kept pushing forward. They found Draxus on the bridge. He fought like a cornered animal, desperate, vicious. But the resistance fighters overwhelmed him, captured him, brought him back to the capital in chains. When the news spread that Draxus was captured, his remaining forces surrendered. The battle was over. The civil war was over. The Queen had won, but the cost was terrible. Thousands dead, ships destroyed, cities damaged, and the empire was fractured, broken. It would take years to rebuild, maybe decades. The Queen called an emergency council meeting. Every remaining noble, every military commander, every leader who had survived. They gathered in the damaged throne room. She stood before them, weak from her illness, exhausted from battle, but strong in purpose. "Today humans fought and died for this empire," she said. "They could have let us fall. They could have celebrated our destruction, but they chose to help, to fight alongside us, to save us." She looked around the room, met every eye. "And yet we have kept them in chains, made them slaves, treated them as less than people. This ends now. Some nobles started to protest. The Queen raised her hand. Silence fell. I am calling for an immediate vote. The Emancipation Accord. Full freedom for all humans across the Empire. Citizenship, rights, reparations, everything. Vote now. The nobles looked at each other. Some were angry. Some were thoughtful. But they had all seen the battle. Had all seen humans fight and die. Had all seen that things could not continue as they were. The vote was called. One by one they voted. When the count was finished, the Emancipation Accord had passed. The Queen signed it immediately. Made it law. Effective immediately. All across the Empire, humans were free. Taiho stood beside her. Watched her sign. Felt tears running down his face. After generations of servitude. After so much pain and loss. His people were free. The Queen looked at him, smiled. It was a tired smile. A sad smile, but also a smile of triumph. We did it, she said softly. We actually did it. The days after the Emancipation Accord were chaos. Beautiful chaos. Across the Empire, humans heard the news. Some cried. Some celebrated. Some did not believe it at first. After so many generations, freedom seemed impossible. Like a dream. But it was real. The transition was not smooth. Nothing that big ever was. Some humans chose to leave the Empire completely. They took ships to the frontier. Established their own colonies. Their own governments. Free and independent, others stayed. They built new lives within the Empire. Found jobs. Bought homes. Started businesses. Learned to live as citizens instead of servants. There were problems. Old prejudices did not disappear overnight. Some Valtheris refused to accept the change. They treated humans badly, denied them service, made their lives difficult. Violence erupted in some places. Humans and Valtheris fighting in the streets. But the Queen was firm. She enforced the law, punished those who broke it. Slowly, things began to settle. A new normal began to form. Queen Valara lived to see the first free elections. Humans and Valtheris voting together, choosing representatives, building a government that served everyone. Minho won a seat in the new Imperial Assembly. He represented the frontier colonies, fought for their rights, for their resources. He was young but passionate. People listened to him. Jisoo became an advisor to the government. She helped design programs for education, for training, for integration. She made sure the transition was fair, that humans got the support they needed. But the Queen's health continued to fail. The doctors did everything they could, but the damage from her injury was too severe. She had maybe months left, maybe weeks. Taiho visited her every day. They talked about the changes, about the future, about what came next. One afternoon, 6 months after the Emancipation Accord, the Queen called Taiho to her private chambers. She was in bed, too weak to stand now. Her skin was gray. Her breathing was labored. Sit with me, she said. Taiho sat beside her bed, took her hand. It was cold. I wanted to thank you, she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. For saving me, for showing me the truth, for giving me the chance to make things right. You saved yourself, Taiho replied. You made the hard choices. You fought your own people. You changed history. The Queen smiled. It should not have taken this. We should have known better. Should have done better. So much suffering. So many years wasted, but you did change things. That matters, I hope so. I hope people remember that change is possible. That even broken systems can be fixed. That it is never too late to choose differently. They will remember. I promise. The Queen closed her eyes. I am tired, Taiho, so very tired. Rest then. I will stay with you. Thank you, my friend. She died that evening, peacefully, surrounded by the few people she trusted. Taiho held her hand until the end. The Empire mourned. Even those who had opposed her reforms recognized what she had done. How much she had risked. How much she had changed. They built monuments to her. Wrote songs about her. Made her a legend, but Taiho knew the truth. She was not a legend. She was a person, flawed, complicated, someone who made mistakes. Someone who learned. Someone who chose to be better. After the funeral, Taiho was offered many positions. Ambassador, minister, advisor. People wanted him in government. Wanted his voice. His perspective. But Taiho declined them all. He had spent enough time in politics. In palaces. In meetings. He wanted something different. He became a mediator. Someone who helped solve disputes between humans and Valtherus. Someone who understood both sides. Who could find common ground. It was not glamorous. It was not powerful. But it was important. He traveled to different worlds, helped communities learn to live together, taught them to see each other as people, not as different species, just people. He also worked with Jisoo to build schools, real schools, where human children could learn, could dream, could become anything they wanted. Scientists, artists, engineers, leaders. Taiho met with Minho regularly. They would have dinner together, talk about their work, about their lives, about the future. Minho had married. His wife was named Sumi. She was a teacher. They had a daughter, a little girl with bright eyes and endless questions. They named her Hana, after the wife Taiho had lost. The first time Taiho held his niece, he cried. Not from sadness, from joy. This little girl would grow up free. She would never wear a number on her back, never be treated as property. She would choose her own path. Her own life, that was worth everything. Worth all the pain, all the struggle, all the sacrifice. 1 year after the Queen's death, a memorial was unveiled. It was built at the coordinates where the Celestial Dominion had fallen. A massive structure floating in space. A place to remember all who had died, human and Valtherus alike. Taiho attended the ceremony. So did Minho, Jisoo, thousands of others. They came to remember, to honor, to reflect. At the center of the memorial was a statue. It showed Queen Valara, but not as a ruler, not in her crown and robes. Instead, it showed her lying on a piece of hull plating, and beside her stood a human, pulling, saving, together. Taiho stood before the statue, looked at the metal face of the Queen, remembered that desperate journey through the dying ship, remembered her pain, her fear, her courage. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a single flower. It was simple, small, nothing special, but it was real, alive, growing. He placed it at the base of the statue. A small gesture, a quiet tribute. Minho stood beside him, put a hand on his shoulder. She would be proud, you know, of what you built. What we all built. Taiho nodded. I hope so. But there is still work to do, still problems to solve. This is just the beginning. True, but we have time now. We have freedom. We can build something better, something that lasts. They stood in silence for a while, looking at the memorial, thinking about the past, thinking about the future. Then Taiho smiled. Come on, let us go home. Sumi is making dinner. Little Hana wants to show me her drawings. They left the memorial, took a ship back to the capital, back to their lives, their work, their families. The empire was different now. Not perfect, never perfect, but better. Humans and Valtherus learning to live together, building something new from the ashes of the old. And it all started with one choice. One human who refused to leave someone behind. One queen who learned that power meant nothing without compassion. Taiho had dragged Queen Valara through 15 kilometers of a dying ship. And she had paid him with freedom. Not just his freedom, but the freedom of billions. It was not a perfect exchange. Nothing ever was. But it was a start. A new beginning. A chance to build something better. And sometimes that was all anyone needed. A chance. Years later, when people asked Taiho about those days, he would smile. He would tell them about the battle, about the rescue, about the Queen. But most of all, he would tell them this. One person can make a difference. One choice can change everything. Never forget that. Never.